Silly butts, we back. Let's get it.
The man from Indiana who gave us an 80s to remember. The man from Indiana who gave us an 80s to remember by lighting up a battle between the Celtics and the Lakers will forever be heralded as one of the players who saved basketball. Bird and Magic's coast-to-coast war and jaw-dropping styles gave the NBA the boost it needed before the emergence of Michael Jordan. But for Bird, with 3 titles, 2 Finals MVPs, and 3 consecutive MVP seasons, some forget just how good he really was. Today we look at NBA players explaining how crazy good Larry Bird was in his prime. Before we get into all that, if you want to win a PS5 with NBA 2K22 and Madden NFL 22 included, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications to
you might win a PS5. Silly butt.
When speaking of the NBA's greatest of all time, there's always 5 or 10 guys that hit the list. Each carries a different generation. From 50s Bill Russell to 60s Wilt Chamberlain or 70s Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 80s Magic Johnson, 90s Michael Jordan, 2000s Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, to today's LeBron James. Some get overlooked when they shouldn't. For example, Tim Duncan. And others get left behind because of the lack of titles.
Y'all sleeping on Tim Duncan, man.
What happens when all these players talk of
it was intentional
as if he was like no other?
He didn't really get that attention
legends because he wasn't from America and born here.
Like the whole Spurs, the whole little 5, it wasn't really like American. That's why nobody really like probably talked about
to win a 3-point contest with a warm-up shirt on.
But let me rewind
referring to the time Larry and others get left behind because of the lack of titles, like Charles Barkley. What happens when all these players talk of another great as if he was like no other? Larry Bird was lauded by most of these legends because he was one of them too. He was consistent, tough, offensively masterful, and one of the first big guys to shoot many 3-point shots. LeBron James spoke candidly in an interview point contest. James continued,
"For young guys that don't know him, they think of Larry Bird as a jump shooter, but he was so much more than that. He was a passer. He averaged double-digit rebounds. He defended, he took charges. And, he's a straight-up complete basketball player, and me as a small forward."
Later in his career, LeBron adapted his game to the new way of basketball, which was a charge led by the Golden State Warriors in shooting more from behind the arc. LeBron was considered a big guy, but began shooting more threes, and no doubt was heavily influenced by the fact that Larry Legend had already achieved this feat in the 80s. In another interview, when asked about his top 3 of all time, LeBron put Larry Bird firmly in there with MJ and Dr. J.
My God, 3. Larry Bird, Dr. J. Michael.
Shaq had a very different opinion on Larry initially. He said he disliked Bird because he was jealous. He thought, how could this regular-looking guy do everything?
Never really had a chance to play against Larry Bird, but I
something Shaq could say. For real though.
Hated.
Like, Buddy just come up looking like Bob the Builder and just literally just start strapping every 3.
Larry made
man, go on, dog. You got to get up out of here, man. Where you come from? Like,
of course, had a completely different style of game at the time. He was built to the max and used brute force to impose his will
that boy Shaq was built like Megatron.
Blocks and rebounds. Shaq was also
Optimus Prime, for real.
Particularly in the early part of his career.
O'Neal the rebound. Now the Magic with a final shot chance. O'Neal runs the floor. Takes it all the way.
Bird was notoriously slow, which was all the more testament to his skill set.
Yeah,
the fact that was just on a different planet.
The fact that Bird was slow,
from behind the
I think that made him a better basketball player.
Bet with his friend.
Sam Vincent to Bird.
Like, look at that shot behind the rim in mid-game. Ball going out of bounds. Off balance, daddy.
Shaq never really got the chance to play against Larry Bird, which is unfortunate.
That's how you know
because I don't think it would have taken him so long to recognize
dumb
greatness. On the other hand, 6-time NBA champion Kareem Abdul-Jabbar battled Bird on numerous occasions while playing with the Showtime Lakers. Bird got the better of him in the 1984 finals and took another 2 in a
Y'all see that video on my channel? That's the video right there. He elbowed him. Bird was going.
How good was Bird? I don't think people look at him and think, oh, he's a white guy, slow guy.
Chubby white guy, he wore us out.
Kareem talking about he wore us out.
The one between his ears, that was his best. Because he made the 3-point, he had assists and rebounded, steals. He was always at the right place at the right time.
That was a dime.
One of the great players, I had the opportunity to play against.
11-time All-Star Charles Barkley, a regular season MVP during a star-filled 90s, was once asked, "Are you better than Bird?" And he took a long pause before answering, which is very telling.
Am I better than Bird? Oh man, that's a great
Charles
question.
Barkley, say something
Most
stupid.
great players respond immediately with how
Get
they
on your
think they're
ass.
the best,
Boy, your ass
because
was
you
a
have to
fucking
have that
center.
kind of mentality in order to get to the
Your
top.
ass was
Instead,
definitely
Barkley
dumb
answered,
athletic.
I'm a better rebounder. I'm probably a better defender. He's a better shooter, obviously.
Yeah, okay.
You know, a lot of people talk about who's better.
But you have to think, you have to have that mentality.
No, you know.
I think you need to,
like,
we need to start including how much influence and how much can you lead into that as well. Because some of these greats that are being compared to some of these new greats, their leadership qualities are down the fucking drain.
Bird was to play with. McHale was Bird's right-hand man while playing with Boston, claiming the Sixth Man of the Year award twice, along with 7 All-Star appearances. His story of a specific Detroit game is fascinating. There was a bit of time left on the clock, and we had beaten Detroit, and I just scored 56, and I'm walking off the court, and Larry said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm done." I said, "I'm exhausted. I'm tired." Larry goes, "Don't do it, man. Because when I get that hot, I'm not coming out of the game." A week later, he got that hot. He looked at me at about 50 points, and he looked at me and said, "I told you." The pair would go on to win 3 titles together. And McHale would continue to tell stories that live on in Celtics folklore forevermore.
And we've got to tap in with some of them Kevin McHale stories too, y'all. Drop some in the comments if y'all want me to hear some. Y'all want to tap in with Kevin McHale.
Larry says, "I'm going to bust off the play, and I'm just going to come out, and I'm going to shoot a 3. And I'm like, "We're down 2. I'm like, "No, don't do that." I'm like, "Let's shoot a 2, please. Go to the hole, try to get fouled. Let's just get into overtime, see if we can't win this game." And Larry says, "No, I'm just going to bust a 3 on him." I'm like, "Oh, my gosh." So he tells the Phoenix bench, he tells the coaches, "Yeah, I'm just fixing to bust a 3 on you guys and just go home. I'm tired of this." And he gets the ball, jumps out, busts the play, comes out, gets the ball at the slot, shoots the ball. As the ball's in the air, he kind of turns towards the Phoenix bench and yells, "Told you so."
Larry's mental game was such that he could just open up any team and tear them apart. He would use psychological warfare on a regular basis.
Cap.
Players speak of his toughness not because of his size or physicality, but because of his mind.
Ever tell you this.
He would impose his will
it's kind of a secret. Don't tell them about
them off their game.
Larry Bird was a black guy on a white man's brain.
A mastermind of trash talk tactics, Larry Bird will forever go down in history as one of the greatest trash talkers of all time. And in the 80s, that mattered.
Biggest trash talker of all time, and we're going to get on your butt if you try.
Magic Johnson, and the eventual emergence of Michael Jordan, Bird did what was necessary in order to gain that mental edge that took him over the top.
Man, jelly too, y'all see that? Man had jelly
James
with the Rock, man.
The 1988 Finals MVP simply stated that Larry was trash talking all the time, but the problem was he could back it up.
Yeah, he could back it up. So
no, I'm looking back at trash talk up.
You're not accurate. You're just good.
You just good, y'all, for real. Yeah,
Larry was good.
That
Even
motherfucker was
former
great.
Teammate Magic Johnson spoke on the fact that he had a real dislike for Larry Bird as far back as their college playing days for the very reason that Larry would constantly get the better of him. Johnson claimed in a recent interview during a press build-up for the Broadway play about the pair that after he beat Larry in the NCAA championship game in 1979, the most-watched college basketball game ever, by the time he got to the Lakers, they were 0-8 to the Celtics.
You had to hate the Celtics to beat them because when I got here, we were 0-4, I think 8, and then the first time against the Celtics, and then in championship series, and then we lost that in '84. That made us 0-9, I believe.
And later is quoted as saying, "When I played, Larry Bird was the only one I feared." Not bad when hearing it from a 5-time champion and one of the true great basketball players of all time. At the 2019 NBA Awards, Johnson received the NBA Lifetime Achievement Award, but it was shared with guess who? Larry Bird. Bird was simply the king of talking the talk, then actually going out and walking the walk.
Listen, man. Retirement is great for you because you never talked this long.
Dominique Wilkins recounts one of the most famous games where Larry Bird promised Kevin McHale he was going to break
Dominique
McHale's
Wilkins
record
had
against
mad
Atlanta.
bunnies.
Wilkins said,
"He got so hot in that game that you talk about that patented step back. He was doing that step back and he switched it to his left hand 3 separate times in that game.
I told y'all he was versatile.
He was scoring anywhere on the floor that he wanted.
Is this when the bench was giving each other fire?
That's what's opening them up so much.
Did you get in a fight with them after the game? Forget Larry. Did you beat anybody on the bench? Because you giving 5, he's scoring on me.
Every one of those guys got fined $3,000.
Okay.
Larry's legend lives on because of the greats that want to tell them. The reason there's a list of top 10 players who consistently call Bird their toughest opponent or one of their all-time greats
closest to Bird
himself is in that list. Larry is a top 10 baller of all time. His style doesn't matter when his skill sinks the opposition.
But
because
Dirk
above
is
all,
slow.
the opposition will remember.
Maybe
They'll remember the
Luka,
steals, the shots,
but
the
now we gonna see.
and the
We gotta
trash
see.
talk. They'll remember the Bird from
See
the
what
early
you do,
80s,
Luka.
not from the early 90s. The Larry who stepped out on the court in his warm-up jacket and made Michael Jordan recoil in envy. MJ announced,
he didn't take off his top yet. I didn't see when he took off his top.
Well, when Bird did, it was all business. He may as well have taken a mop and bucket to the floor because he was about to clean up. He was an impetuous and never-relenting opponent that took the life from anyone who stepped onto his battlefield. The consensus is a resounding stamp of legendary status for the man who will forever go down in the history books as one of the greatest ever players.
Hey man, no, when you really think about it though,
what did you
Larry
think of Larry
Bird
Bird
might be the GOAT, the greatest of all time. What you think? Drop some in the comments, man. I appreciate y'all liking the videos. I appreciate y'all subscribing. If you're new to the channel, drop some in the comments and let me know you're here so I can give you a good old silly butt shout out in the next video. Let's get it though. Hey, more Larry Bird coming soon. So let me get up out of here. So next video, make sure y'all got something ready, silly butt. Let's get it.